All right, and we're live. Sorry about the technical difficulty we had there, guys, but we got it resolved, and Shay and I are here and ready to write.
Hey y'all, hey. Happy New Year.
Oh, and I just want to give a shout out to everybody who has followed my channel because I finally made it to 1K last month. So that was exciting, and I see my channel continuing to grow. And Shay, what are you working on today?
Okay, so I need to be working on this week's short story, and I fully plan to do that, but this cycle is cycling, so I think I might switch to reading. If this edible doesn't kick in. If the edible does kick in, then I'm gonna work on this short story idea that hit me at the start of this year, and I've been working on it for the past couple of days. But if not, then I'm gonna finish this reread of The City We Became so that I can start The World We Make on Friday. So yeah.
All right. So I have been neglecting my fantasy project. I kind of mostly put it to the side in December to work on the Christmas romance because, holiday spirit, the words were flowing better on that project. And so now I want to add some words to that. So I'm going to hop into that. So we're going to just kick off these sprints with a 25-minute. So see y'all in 25 minutes. All right. So that was the first sprint. And I'm such a clown because I immediately hopped into writing and forgot to check my word count before I did. So I'm not sure how I did that round because when I realized I forgot to check the word count, I already wrote like a whole paragraph. So I'm just like, okay, next round, I'll check.
I got through about a chapter, I think, so I'm on chapter 8. And I'm remembering like that. I'm glad that I read this like physically because I'm remembering how much the like audiobook threw me off listening to it the first time. But I'm appreciating like the vocal changes that the narrator, I feel like Robin Miles is the narrator. I like appreciate all the work that she puts in for all these characters in this book because she is killing the narration. So she's killing the narration. Also, shout out to my heating pad because it's doing the Lord's work right now. So there we go.
And you're reading The City We Became, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I see some people came through. So let me just go around and say hi. So, hey, T.A. Summers, how's it going? Alicia came through. Hello. Aita came through. Thanks much. And yes, thank you. And Brooke and Book Bell, thanks again. Oh, Nicole came through. And Zebri, hello. Oh, I need to be doing that as well, applying for jobs. I was doing a little bit of looking earlier, but like I wasn't really seeing anything. But the government says that I have to apply for 2 jobs a week. So I don't know how that's going to happen when I'm not seeing anything good out there. So we will see. And thank you for the congrats. Pat came through as always. Pat never sleeps. But we
Be on it, boy.
Mr. Rosary, thank you. Elisa came through, working during the sprints. Yep, work, write, whatever you got to do, read, whatever you got to do during these sprints. And thank you. And Summer says she's rereading / revising some previous chapter of her horror romance, so no words down yet. No, that's okay. Some sprints you just sit there and you're like reading your words again and make sure they make sense. Naita said finishing a paragraph and got mostly through another paragraph in editorial I'm working on. Progress. August is always good. Yes, I'm decided to hop back into my fantasy because it's been a little bit, and I'm currently reading Blood at the Root, and it just has me wanting to hop back into my story. So far, Blood at the Root is actually pretty good. Like it starts off a little slow because it has to like set up the background before he can get to the school. But now that we're at the school, things are starting to fall into place, and I'm liking it more.
I love that. I'm so excited for you to finish it so that I can hear
Yeah.
about it.
And I'm liking like the little nods to like real life HBCUs. So like for example, like when I went to visit Howard a few weeks ago, like they named their fine arts building after Chadwick Boseman, and then the Performing Arts College in this story is also named after him. And like just like the stuff like I was just I was reading a scene earlier where they were taking an intro to magic class and discussing like the difference between hoodoo and voodoo. So that was really interesting. And then Belle says, I'm reading Black Girl in Paris when it's in company. You have a great night. All right. So we're going to hop into another one. Let me just set the timer. And we're going to do another 25.
Sounds great.
All right. So, how did everybody do that round? I actually was paying attention to the word count this time, and I made a little bit of progress. I did subtract some words, but I also added some words. I added 175 words that round. How's your book going, Shay?
It's good. They got back to Staten Island, and Staten Island's character is interesting in this story. Very interesting. I've never known anybody from Staten Island, but from what I've heard and people talking about New York, Staten Island's character fits people from Staten Island. So I'm just like, this is intriguing. So yeah. So far so good. So far so good.
I mean, I live in the Northeast, so I've met quite a few people from Staten Island.
Have you read The City We Became?
No, I started it. I think I was listening to the audiobook like back in, was it 2020 it came out? Whatever year it was that it came out. And then it was kind of confusing and it wasn't holding my attention with like all the different POVs and stuff. So I just kind of put it down.
Yeah, I had to read. I started the audiobook, but it was just so much going on in the audiobook. I had to switch to physical. And physical, I read it and devoured it. And so now I'm going back and listen to the audiobook and like hybrid reading it because I have the physical
Yeah.
copy too. So yeah.
I think with some books, like once you get to understand the story and kind of know it, then you can go back and do the audio. Like some books, you kind of need to look at the words the first time just to like fully comprehend it. That's how I was with
I
like
concur. I concur.
that's how I feel like with Forging a Nightmare. Like I remember somebody I was talking to, they said they were like a little confused at first with the audio, and then they had to buy the book, and then once they got a good bit into like it physically, then they were able to jump into the audio. And for me, I read that one twice. The second time I hybrid read it, it was a lot easier to listen to it once I knew the story and knew the outcome already. Then it was like clicking better.
Good, good, good. I'll keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah, sometimes. And like I know for me with like sci-fi too, it's a lot harder for me to do audiobooks in general. I tend to not like to do the audiobook on sci-fi or like big fantasies just cuz there's a lot going on. Most of the time if I do audio for fantasy, I'm either halfway through it or like it's a reread. The only exception is this Riley Mann book that I'm reading currently, and it's just dense is the problem.
You said it's dense is the
Yeah,
problem.
so I'm reading Riley Mann in the Company of Monsters. It's a middle grade, but the way the author writes, it has a lot of advanced vocabulary, and it's already like a long book because like the physical edition is 368 is 368 pages. That's a
That's
lot
a
for
thick
them
middle
kids.
grade. That's a really thick middle grade.
Well, there's a lot of middle grade that it's that thick, and the kids just aren't reading them. Like my 10-year-old niece, she doesn't she's I don't give her these middle grade books because she's not interested in them. Like we're still working on chapter books because that's as much as she can handle right now with like her attention span and stuff. So I couldn't even give her like a thick middle grade. That's just not happening. And for this, then I also had the problem with this author before. With I was trying to read her book, Witches Steeped in Gold, which I have the audiobook for that, so I do want to go back into it just so I get my money's worth. But that also had a lot of vocabulary and exposition right off the bat, and it was hard to get into, and I ended up like DNFing on chapter 2. So I thought her middle grade would be like a little bit easier, but it's still like it's a good concept and there's like some interesting stuff going on, but it's hard to stay into it because it's just so long and there's just so much going on and there's like a lot of big words and stuff she's throwing around.
You said this is the same one that wrote Witches Steeped in Gold?
Yes.
Gotcha.
That one is a long one. That one I think is like over 500 pages for the first book. So I think like her maybe she
I
should
remember
try.
loving the cover.
Oh, it's a beautiful cover. It's just that like the first 2 chapters were so dense, like I put it down and never got back into it. I'm like maybe she should try like adult. That density works a little bit better there, especially with her advanced vocab. Let me see what everybody else is reading. Let's see. Alicia is reading The Last of the Atlanteans. Pat is reminding me to hit that like button and for us to stay hydrated. I'm trying. I do have my water bottles like all around because it's winter and winter I drink less water. I wrote a paragraph in research somewhere. That's good. Any little bit of writing. Oh, Shay got the big bottle today. Finished a chapter, 500 words. Ooh, ooh. Starting a new chapter of the whip. It's great. I really want to finish like the first draft of the fantasy by the end of spring. That's my goal. Like I made some good progress. I
That's a
just need
good
to
goal.
sit and focus, and I should be able to finish it.
That's a good goal.
Yep, the city we became. No wonder the kids want to read. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't even blame the children for not wanting to read because I don't want to read something that long either most of the time.
I barely be willing to read adult books. Then, like, you have to be really interesting for me to be wanting to read something that thick. Like, you
That's what
have
I'm
to be one
saying.
of my auto-buy authors. Because if you're not, why? Why am I dedicating that much time to an author I don't know?
That's what
Your
I'm
story is
saying.
going to
It's
be fire,
hard.
right?
Like, when I see a middle grade and it's under 300 pages, I'm like, okay, I will give that one a chance usually because, like, that I'm more likely to pick up and read. But I said I can't do it with my niece. She's not her attention span is not there for me to sit there and get her to read those books. If I hand it to her, she's not going to read it. Therefore, I have to sit with her and read and like listen to her read it aloud. And she's not going to do a book that thick. It's going to take us months. 368. Yep. 368 pages is just a lot. I don't know who these publishers think. Like, well, no, I know who they're trying to get. They're trying to get the adults to pick these books up and like live in nostalgia. But even like adults are kind of tired of this. Plus, like, there's only so many, like, so long you can read books about like little kids as an adult. Like, a few like a year is good, but then you start to want to read more grown stuff. I didn't know the book was that many pages. Yeah, like she'd be writing some thick ones. Yeah, there were a lot. Like I remember that year it came out too. Like so I think it was Jess Owens had asked the question like who had finished it on Twitter, and it was just comment after comment of people talking about they DNF the book. And I remember when book 2 came out, the author was saying how she didn't write it for everybody, she wrote it for herself. And I'm like, well, that's good that you wrote it for yourself. Like, you gotta write the book you want to read, but also other people gotta want to read it too. Let me take that off. Listen, you gotta prioritize, and sometimes I do prioritize based on how long the book is. Like, if I can read 2 quicker ones in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead with those. Yep, Shay got her hydration on.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
Yeah, Amari is like I enjoyed Amari, but it is also a very long one for that crowd. And it is also like a middle grade that I feel leans more to like adults and nostalgia and the type of stories that like we like in middle grade. And I have not. People kept suggesting like I give that to my niece to read too, and I'm like, no, she's I can give it to her. She's gonna put it on the shelf and it's gonna sit there and collect dust. She's not gonna read it. It's just too thick. Yeah, like they really do sometimes like write for themselves or other adults, and that's like since I'm writing a YA fantasy, that's something like I have to consistently think about because like even when I read other YA, sometimes like I'm reading different like pop cultural references, and I'm like, well, the people who are supposed to be reading this book are Gen Z. Are they even going to get that reference? Because like I'm enjoying At the Root, but there were a couple of references where I was like, I don't know if the kids know that one. Like there was a reference to the Temptations movie. And even I had to like sit there and remember I recognized the reference, but I had to sit there and it took a little bit of time to click and remember like which movie it was from. And I'm like, I know they have not seen the Temptations. So that one will go over their heads, and there was like a couple like other little things that might just like go over their heads a little bit that millennial Black people would understand, but they don't really know.
I think that's the other part that people aren't thinking about is that like Gen Z is not in high school right now. That's not the group of kids that's in high school right now. Gen Z is in college and the workforce. Gen Z is not in high school anymore. Like they can't be. We're in our 30s and 40s. They can't be in high school. Like that's not how it works anymore. You know what I mean? So like people aren't thinking about generations in the form of what actual generations go for. Like usually you have to stick with things that are evergreen for kids, which are usually cartoons.
You're
Usually
right.
those things are cartoons. Those things are evergreen. The Little Mermaid, Lion King, those things
Right.
are things that mostly all kids see. But other stuff, like, nah, it's cultural, right? Like, it's
And
everything.
certain cultural things aren't being passed down either.
Right. Like, at some point, there's a generation of kids that won't see Friday. Even though there's, for a long generation, there's a lot of us who have. But I'm pretty sure this group that's in high school now, right?
Yeah, this group that's in high school now, like I think like of my cousin and his 16-year-old, like she won't she don't know a lot of stuff and she don't read. And she's not watching some of these movies that we grew up watching. Like growing up in the 90s slash early 2000s was just like a completely different time.
People are forgetting that the kids that are in high school now were born in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
in the 2008, 2010s. Like,
Yeah.
that's who's in high school right now.
Yeah, because she was born in 2006.
Yeah, my godson was born in 2008. He's a sophomore.
And that's something like I have to keep in mind too, like I'm not really putting pop cultural references into the book right now because I'm like I have to keep in mind who would be the future audience for it if they're going to understand stuff. Like I tend to pick a lot of books and people are like, oh well, they know the music because of TikTok. I'm like, no, they actually don't know these songs because of TikTok. Like they know a line that's trending. That ain't the same thing as knowing the artist or knowing the song in full. They know that line on TikTok.
Or like that video I shared in my story where kids were wearing art, like shirts with artists on them and had no idea that they were artists. They just liked the design of the shirt.
Yeah, like that's something to think about. So like sometimes I'm reading these books and I'm just like, this feels very much nostalgic for me, but I don't know if the kids would connect. Like even when I was reading that one last year, I was reading Son of the Slayer and there were a lot of references to Buffy. Buffy was before I was in high school. And I feel like a lot of people who are my age who watched Buffy in the reruns, and I did not watch Buffy in the reruns in high school. So I tried watching Buffy last year. I got through like the first 2 episodes, and I was like, okay, this feels very, very much of its time, and I don't have the nostalgia to go with it to sit there and watch the whole thing. So I just ended up not continuing it. So like when I read that, I'm like, I don't know if the kids are gonna care about all these references to this old show. Even though yes, it plays on reruns on TV, but they're not really watching TV like that. Even if an audiobook is over 9 hours, probably won't pick it up. I'd be checking the audiobook speed calculator sometimes just to see how long it's gonna take me, and sometimes that be the determining factor. You know, the last of Gen Zs are juniors and seniors in high school. Yeah, that's the thing too when you're writing contemporary that you really have to think hard about because you can easily date yourself while writing and you have to decide like are you going to continue to update those references while you're revising or you're going to leave them as is because I've heard the writers talk about that in the past too like when they started writing the book like over the course of 10 years, like slowly over time, they had to change different like celebrity names and stuff to keep it to who's popular at the time the book is being released. Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of Buffy references in there. And like I said, I saw the first 2 episodes. Most of my knowledge from Buffy came from crossover fanfic with like fandoms that I read as a teen, that where people were fans of Buffy and they would do like those AU crossover fics. So like I went in knowing the characters like by name and stuff, but I didn't know them well. And like seeing all those references, I'm just like, I don't think the kids will care. But I know Buffy is a really popular reference right now, like with these vampire slayer books that are coming out by Black authors, and they're aimed at like the middle grade and young adult crowd. And I'm just like, the kids don't know Buffy, so why are we comping to Buffy? I mean, I know publishers like their comps, but still. So, you up for another sprint?
Yeah, I'm up for another one for sure.
Let me set the timer. I think we'll do like a 30-minute this time. Gives a little extra 5 minutes. I only knew Buffy because other people would call me Buffy sometimes at school, same last name. But even then, I was too young for Buffy when it aired. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was too young for Buffy when it aired. So, it, like, and I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I watched it in college. I watched it in the end of high school. I watched Dark Angel in college, and I did like Dark Angel. That one was a good one. That one I feel like was just like some like the hip hop music and stuff in it is very dated, but the concept overall holds up well.
That's the one with Jessica Alba.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she is like this super. She was like one of several super soldier children, like that were built to like be a part of the military. It's like a kind of like dystopian future, and she's trying to like track down the rest of them and find her mom. So like I had rewatched that in college, and like of course like because they made it in the early 2000s, like, and they used like a lot of hip-hop, the songs and stuff in it were dated, but the actual storyline, since it's just like dystopian future, held up pretty well. Still learned Charmed I feel like still holds up pretty well too. Like I said, like a little bit of like the music and stuff is just a little off on Charmed, but I feel like the story itself holds up well. And I think what helps with Charmed is there's a lot of monster of the week. So you can kind of skip around episodes and stuff and not be completely lost. So let's get into this 30-minute. All right. How did everybody do? So that round, I got 118 words in. Had to switch some stuff around, but I made some pretty good progress. There's a lot more progress than I made in the past few weeks on this story, so there's a win.
I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I got distracted by quite a few things. Quite a few things. Quite a few things. It was a good distraction though. I got my like 6 little chuckles in, so that's good. That's good. I'm satisfied by what I laughed at. So hey. So there's
Hey,
that.
you got to get the laughter into every
Right.
day.
Hey. Joy is necessary.
So Jaleesa had to leave out there commuting in that traffic. I heard that Houston traffic is no joke. And safe travels to her. And Summer's eating dinner and reading over some of my previous chapters. 100 words down. Progress, 100 words. I think that was the last sprint I had in me for today. I did make a little bit of progress, and my goal really this month is just to write again every day. I was doing so well, and then I fell off in December. So, Shay, you have anything coming up you need to announce before we head out?
The short story that I was working on will be out this week. I'm hoping Sunday, blog and Wattpad, so y'all can read it. It is back from the editor. Final draft. I'm working on a little cover and whatnot now. So that's what I got for y'all. So yeah.
Post it everywhere so we can see it. Community post.
Yeah, I'll do
Everywhere.
a community post, put it in my story, put it on my little link tree, all that. Excuse me, all that jazz. I got y'all.
All right. Well, I don't have anything special coming up this week. You might, like I said before, I don't have a lot of channel goals for this year, so you might see me pop up and do some writing sprints here and there. But that's about it. So head out, and thanks so much for tuning in and writing and reading and just chatting with us.
Bye.
Bye.